What's up, everybody? I'm Matt Leinart, 2004 Heisman Trophy winner, and you're watching the Harris Highlight Show.
Na 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 na.
Coming to you live from downtown Phoenix, this is Season 2, Episode 16 of the Harris Highlight Show. Joining me this week are college football analyst Josh Schaefer and Lyle Goldstein with our executive producer Brady Klain. I am your host for the evening, Blake Harris. Gentlemen, let's get things underway as soon as we can because we officially now have the top 4 teams in the college football playoff, and they are 4 teams that, for the most part, I think are the 4 best teams in the country. You guys can give your thoughts, but we learned of them earlier today at a nice 4-hour-long ESPN special where they literally spent nearly 4 hours just talking about the top 4 teams. They could cut that down, but guys, we got Clemson, we got Oklahoma, we got Georgia, and we got Alabama. I guess the most important question is, did the committee get this right?
Well, here's the biggest thing about this top 4. They're not looking at resume. They're not looking at conference championships. They're looking at who they think the best 4 teams are. And that goes without saying. But I think a lot of people can argue that the teams that should be in the top 4 at the end of the year are the teams that A, are good teams, obviously, and B, have a good resume, and C, are winning their conference championships. But they said they don't care about that. That's what they said with putting Alabama as the number 4 team. I don't disagree with it. I think if they would have left Alabama out and put in Ohio State, we would have just as much controversy. Or if they left Wisconsin there after a loss, there would have been just as much controversy. I'm not saying they got it wrong. I'm also not saying they got it right. I don't have any complaints because I don't see how people can complain other than the fact that Alabama didn't play in a conference championship.
I like the decision to put Alabama in. I mean, it goes back and forth. As just a fan, I'm like the rest of the country where I'm getting sick and tired of seeing Bama in year after year. And yeah, you look at the resumes. Ohio State, of course, they won their conference. They beat Michigan State. They have a couple good wins on their schedule for the year. And I know Alabama's best win is probably LSU. And of course, they lost their one top 15 opponent in Auburn. But I think when you just look at the matchups, these 4 teams make up the 2 best games. I think Alabama will give Clemson the best run for their money. I know Ohio State won the conference. I know Wisconsin was undefeated going into the game, but I just looked at those 2 teams watching that game this past Saturday night. I don't think either of those teams were equipped to give Clemson any sort of competition, and I think Bama versus Clemson is going to be one heck of a game along with Oklahoma and Georgia, but those 2 are pretty solidified.
What I find super interesting about this is there are 13 members on the committee that make the decisions, but only 10 were allowed to vote because of the relationships that some of them had. You had Frank Beamer, former Virginia Tech coach, who has a relationship with Georgia. He couldn't vote. Gene Smith, the Ohio State athletic director, he obviously couldn't vote. And there was one more, Dan Radovich, the Clemson athletic director, and a father of a current Clemson player. He couldn't vote. So there had to be pretty much a unanimous decision in this voting process because it came down to 10 guys instead of 13 guys voting for it.
Which is pretty crazy to me just looking at it because, again, I'm for Alabama being that 4th team, but you would just think some of the guys on that committee would just look at Ohio State's resume and say, well, they beat Penn State, they beat Michigan State, they beat Wisconsin in the conference title game. So maybe you're right about the unanimous voting, but I just thought more people would have been for Ohio State.
Well, that's what Kobe Hocutt said in his press conference with Chris Fowler after the fact.
Right.
And now, sorry, really quickly, Lyle. Here's the thing that I wanted to bring up, and this is what you had said. You said this on Twitter, I believe. I was talking to our other friend Jordan Kay, who covers ASU football the first time. What you said on Twitter was that their loss to Iowa is what's keeping them out, correct?
And that's what they said on the show today. I think the committee chairman said that huge blowout loss against Iowa is what ultimately kept Ohio State out.
The reason why they're being kept out is not because they lost to Iowa. It's not because they lost. It's because they lost with that margin of deficit.
My first thing is I hate how 10 people decide whether or not who makes the playoff or not. I think if you're going to have a committee decide, at least expand it a little. But the fact that 10 dudes are ultimately deciding this, that's my one thing that I don't like. And especially if you're going to have a committee of 13, the fact that some of them can't even vote, I think they need to change. I think they need to add more people.
Well, do you want to go back to the AP poll? Because that was terrible, I
Not
thought.
the AP poll. I mean, I like the way they have it set up. Like I said, it's the fact that 10 guys ultimately decide who gets in.
So do you want to see it be more like 30 or 40?
Maybe not that much, but at least like double it to maybe 20 or so. But going back to this, I think they got it right. The one thing I don't like is how I think they're inconsistent. I think how they say, oh, it matters. I mean, they have like a whole list of criterias. And the whole thing about the conference championships, and they say that matters. Well, obviously it didn't. And like Josh said, I mean, the ultimate reason is, the reason they didn't make it in is because of that Iowa loss. If it would have been by maybe a few points, yeah, they may have had a chance. But the fact that it was by 30, and although I still feel like Alabama's the better team, and regardless of Ohio State losing to Iowa, they shouldn't have been in, I don't like the fact that you're going to discredit a team's entire season because of one game, because of one bad performance. I don't get it.
Is that in reference to Alabama or Ohio State?
Ohio State.
Okay.
Their game against Iowa. So
Well, then you could kind of make the same argument for Alabama if they got left out because they
that was
lost
the
one game.
that was the last game of the season though, so it depends on what the time is, because then you had to have dropped them, 3 or 4 spots. That's the thing. Ohio State's was back in October, or no, it was November. It was November. It was the last month that it happened. So like I said, I got no complaints with it. I still think thinking back on it, 8 might be too much. I definitely think 6 needs to happen. It needs to be all 5 conference champions and then 1 at-large bid. I think that is absolutely more than fair, because everyone keeps saying we haven't had that 1 year yet where there's been a team left out where everyone's gone like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this team's left out. But every year there's been a case where it's been either this team or another team could be in. So I think they should move to 6, but I think that this current 4 that they have is the best 4 they've had since it started.
This is going to be the best playoff.
I think it's the first 4 where you can make a case that any 4 of these teams can win it all. I think they did a fantastic job. And like I said, I think another thing that helped Alabama get in is the fact that it's going to be Alabama-Clemson round 3, and that is going to draw ratings, and especially because it's going to be the Sugar Bowl, that is going to draw a massive crowd. So I think that's they'll say it won't, but that definitely had to play some sort of factor into it.
Well, I don't know if I'd like putting 6 teams in the playoffs and having all 5 conference champions and 1 at-large, because I think there's more teams deserving that wouldn't be a conference champion. But regardless, I think that's a discussion for another time. My biggest thing, and again, I completely agree with Alabama being the number 4 team, because I think it sets up the best matchup. As a fan, and even somewhat as a college football podcaster, let's say, another reason I wanted to see Alabama get left out, aside from seeing a new face, is the part of I'm tired of seeing them schedule an FCS team the second to last week of the season.
Exactly.
Because I wanted to see that hurt them in the end, so they'd actually start scheduling some more tougher games at the beginning of the year, as well as that slot of the second to last game of the season. Because Mercer this year, and I know we love them guys, but Chattanooga the year before, they got to put some tougher opponents on their schedule at the end of the year.
Also the thing about Bama is you talk about them having an FCS opponent, but I mean, for the most part, every year they start off the season playing a remarkable team. This year it was Florida State. Now, granted, things didn't turn out the way it happened. They were counting on that Florida State win to be like their one convincing win that would have assured them of a top 4 spot. And the year before they played SC, and then the year before I'm pretty sure they played someone as well. I think next year
it was Wisconsin, and then the year before that it was West Virginia.
So they're every year. I think next year they're playing Louisville for the opening game. So yeah, they are scheduling that FCS game. But I mean, you got to give them credit for every year the opening game. They are playing usually a top 10 team in the country.
But you do also have to think that some of these top games, when they're being scheduled, these are being scheduled like 5 years ago. So when they're scheduling Louisville, this is not Lamar Jackson Louisville we're talking about.
Yeah, it potentially could be.
Well,
it won't be, but
no. I mean years ago. They're not planning ahead
Nobody
for
knew
Lamar
who Lamar
Jackson.
Jackson
Exactly.
was like 5 years ago.
Exactly. And additionally, and I'm not saying this is, obviously this is kind of hard to argue with, but when you're scheduling USC, you're scheduling the name, because when you're finalizing the schedule with USC, we're talking about a Lane Kiffin head coached USC team when this schedule is being finalized. But then you do have to keep in mind after that game, who are their next toughest games? Fresno State, Colorado State, Mercer at the end of the year. Last year it was Chattanooga. Where you look at some other big teams who are scheduling, maybe these teams that are playing up against Alabama, and they're non-conference games. So, for example, I mean, USC and Alabama play last year. USC turned out to end up being a good team. Well, they end up playing Notre Dame at home at the beginning of the year. So they try to schedule these other big teams on their schedule.
And by no means am I saying that Alabama has to go out there and play a top 5 caliber opponent in their second to last week of the season. But if they could go out and schedule some non-conference games against some, let's call them, mediocre to good quality opponents, that's all I want to see. I want to see it at least be somewhat of a game that's like equivalent to a conference game. I just don't want to see them playing Mercer anymore second to last week of the year.
One of those points that you guys made was these teams are playing all these low-level scheduled teams. Mercer, I'm not saying Chattanooga's low-level because they're the best team in the country.
This is where
obviously. Who did Clemson play the second to last week of the year? They're not in the SEC. They played the Citadel. They beat them 61-3.
True.
Is that every year that happens, though?
I think it's a consistent thing because it's not that first 3 weeks of the season, which is when most teams will play their non-conference games, unless it's like a Notre Dame, which they don't play conference. You know what I mean. But Clemson played Citadel. I think they played a low-level team last year and the previous year before that.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and it's not even just a shot at Bama. It's just a shot at teams who do that in general.
You see that most SEC teams did that. That was it second to last week of the season.
Yeah.
Why not do that the first week of the season? But they're more marketable at the beginning of the year. They can play big level games. I get that, but why do these teams do it?
I don't know. However, I'm looking at Clemson's schedule from past years, and usually they don't do that. Usually they have conference games that late in the year.
Did they do this last year?
No.
No?
They had, I think, Wake Forest, which is a conference game.
Okay.
But now, before we do get into the complete bowl pick'ems, we do have a few things that we do have to talk about. Number one, guys, I said this to you guys earlier, and I wouldn't have realized this unless someone would have pointed me out on Twitter. So yeah, last week we were talking about Agent Killa Deluxe and how it was his to lose. Well, guys, it was more than his to lose. So not only did he end up winning the official Harris Highlights Pick'em Challenge, he ended up winning the whole ESPN Pick'em Challenge. He ended up finishing with 111 points. Now, there was a lot of people that had 110 points, but overall, he finished first with, I don't know if we can get a number on how many people there were total, but it had to have been probably hundreds of thousands. So Agent Killa Deluxe, and he was only in 2 groups. He was in the University of Alabama fans and the Harris Highlights group. So how about that?
That's a good look for us here at Harris Highlights.
That is a great look. We hosted the winner of the whole thing. So Agent Killa Deluxe, I mean, I know that you're probably going to be getting a bunch of great prizes from ESPN for finishing first. And if you still want that $25 gift card, I mean, it is still yours. So make sure you DM me on Twitter. But
I think if you win the whole thing, you buy us the gift card to buy you.
Yeah,
because it's $1 million.
Well, no, it's not for this one. This one's not $1 million.
So if he continues this into the bowl pick'ems, it's $1 million.
So yeah, Agent Killa Deluxe. Like I said, if you still want it, DM me. But you got a lot of good prizes coming your way. So, and just to show that Brady, he pulled up his. He finished 104,486th place, and that's only with a total of 9. So there was much more people than that.
1 week of pick'ems. I got one wrong that week. I got pretty good stats.
So how about that, Agent Killa Deluxe? Shout out to you. And guys, speaking of pick'em winners, Lyle, it's time to officially take your champion crown off and pass on over to Josh, because Josh is the 2017 Pick'ems winner. Josh, what do you have to say?
Thanks, guys. It's been a great season. I had a pretty good bounce back, and you know what? It feels very nice to have the crown taken off Lyle's head and figuratively put on mine, because he beat me in fantasy football today, too, so it feels good.
Josh, you are a true friend of the crown.
Dilly dilly.
Dilly dilly.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, Blake, 2 years of the show and no crowns for you, buddy. What do you have to say?
You know, I don't care. It's fine. I'll get him 1 year. I mean, that's what I can say. Same with you, Brady.
We've got 4 years. We're going to have a different winner every year.
And now, before we get started with our bowl pick'ems, we do have one final game of the regular season left to pick, and arguably the best game of the college football season. That is Army and Navy. They're going for the Commander-in-Chief trophy the first time since 1996. Army-Navy, guys, it doesn't matter what the records are in this game because both teams give it their all. Who wins this one?
I gotta go with Army. I think they're the better team. Both teams have unbelievable uniforms, unbelievable tradition. This is a game that has been on my bucket list to go to since I was a kid, and I hope that someday I will get there. But I do have a friend who goes to Army. I also have a friend who is going to be playing for the West Point softball team. She got a scholarship, so she's going there. I'm going Army.
I'm going to go with Navy. I never like to go against Navy in this game, specifically because of that tough option they run. They played a lot of tough teams close this year, including Notre Dame. So for that reason, I like Navy in a very close one.
That triple option's the hardest offensive scheme to play defense and defensive coach against. But I'm going Army in this game.
I'm going to go Navy in this one. I am looking forward to it, though, especially for once the game ends. I think that's one of the best post-game just celebrations in all of sports. We'll have to wait and see, but it is time now for our second annual complete bowl pick'ems. We are going to pick every single bowl game there is. Yep, that's right. We're going to pick every single bowl game there is. Now, guys, we are going to reset the pick'ems to 0 and have our own pick'em champion for the bowl games. Now, I'll be honest, guys. Do you remember who won last year in the bowl pick'ems?
I don't know, but
Did I win it?
The winner of this do they get $1 million too?
They get pride. But no, this one, for this bowl one, speaking of pick'ems, I'll get into this. If you want to have a little fun with this, join the Capital One ESPN Harris Highlights Bowl Pick'em Challenge. It's literally the same exact thing we were doing in the regular season, except this one's for the bowls. You go on there and you choose the winner of all 40 bowl games. Well, I guess technically 41, including the national title game. The winner of all 41 bowl games. And if you get a perfect score, you do win $1 million. Not from us, but from from ESPN. So if you want a chance to win $1 million, go and fill it out. Or if you want a chance to win a $25 gift card as well, head on over there. The top prize wins a $25 gift card of their choice. Who knows what you'll pick? Maybe Asian Killer Deluxe will be back and he'll go for the clean sweep this year.
Blake, that's very enticing. I would much rather go for the $25.
Thank you. I would too. I think that's a better option because of the $1 million with taxes and everything.
Taxes in over 40 years.
We don't tax our $25 gift card, so I'll post the link to that in the description below. It literally takes 5 minutes to fill out. Do it with your friends. Do it with your family. I do it with my parents. It's a nice little 3-way competition that we got going on. So
I'm sure Mama and Papa Harris really do their studying for bowl pick'ems.
oh yeah, my
right?
dad literally just clicks everyone on the left. Like, that's his go-to motto. But guys, it is time to get into these bowl games. Now, you don't have to go too in-depth if you don't want to, because there are 40 games as well. But let's get things started off with the Celebration Bowl, featuring North Carolina A&T versus Grambling. Now, I think this is a rematch of last year's Celebration Bowl.
Wow, that is just a zinger of a matchup right there. I am taking Grambling State because they have the same logo as Georgia and the Green Bay Packers.
Real toss-up here, but you know what? I'm going A&T. I just got a gut feeling.
You know, if I'm a Grambling man, and I am, play on words, I'm picking Grambling State. Because of terrible puns.
Apparently, they're not Grambling State anymore. They dropped the state.
So there's Grambling?
They're just Grambling now, apparently. I found this out last year. They're just Grambling.
I want to change my pick now.
Sincerest apologies to Grambling.
I know, but I'm going to go with North Carolina A&T in this one, just because. The next game, guys, is the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl with Troy and North Texas.
Taking the Trojans in this one.
I'm going with the Mean Green, North Texas University.
North Texas, I'm going with Lyle.
Well, the Trojans are on a 6-game winning streak, and the last time they played in the state of Louisiana, they beat LSU. So for that reason, I'm going to go with Troy.
I feel like you're just reading this off of the ESPN little
paragraphs.
I
am.
Well, Blake, you're full of 41 randomly interesting stats.
Alright guys, up next is the Auto Nation Cure Bowl, featuring Western Kentucky and Georgia State.
Oh man, what a matchup. A 6-6 team versus a 6-5 team. Can't wait for this one. I'm taking the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers because that is one heck of a mascot name.
Well, one of Seattle's offensive tackles, George Fant, a former basketball player, went to Western Kentucky. He tore his ACL, so George Fant, wishing you a speedy recovery, and I'm going with Western Kentucky. Go Hilltoppers.
My former high school coach used to be the head coach at Western Kentucky, so I'm going to go Western Kentucky.
You guys are making this one too boring for all taking the same pick. I'm going to go with Georgia State. The Las Vegas Bowl, featuring the Oregon Ducks and the Boise State Broncos.
I want to say back the pack, but I like the way that Boise State bounced back against Fresno. I'm taking the Broncos.
I think having Justin Herbert back is a game changer for Oregon, so I like the Ducks.
I like Boise State because they have the number 25 in front of their team name. Oregon doesn't have a number.
Justin Herbert's playing, which means Oregon is a much better team. I'm going to go with the Ducks in this one. Here we go. Now we got some good old sponsors, guys. The Gildan, New Mexico Bowl, featuring Marshall and Colorado State.
Taking the Thundering Herd in this one. Two teams with the same colors and the same record. Going with Marshall.
I'm going to go with Marshall. We are Marshall.
I was just going to say, we are Marshall. I'm going with Marshall.
I'm going to go with Colorado State mainly because I took Marshall earlier in the season and they let me down.
Oh, God, we're going to just take a huge jump out in front of Blake in these bowl pick'ems.
The Raycom Media Camellia Bowl. Wow. Featuring Middle Tennessee and Arkansas State.
This reminds me of like that old SNL skit where they just make up random names. Like,
I'm taking Arkansas State because their mascot or their logo looks like he's shooting laser beams out of his eyes because he doesn't have eyes, he just got slits.
Hey, Middle Tennessee beat the team who eventually beat the #1 team in the country in Clemson, so I'm going Middle Tennessee.
you know, I'm a big RJ and Ron Hunter fan, you know, the former basketball guys. So I'm going Middle Tennessee.
I'm going to go with Arkansas State mainly because of that one trick play they did like 5 years ago where the guy just fell backwards. Oh my goodness, how do you... Oh, I think this is
Cheribundi Tart Cherry Boca Raton Bowl.
It was only fitting that BK says
This
that,
is
because
without
it's in
a
Boca
doubt
Raton.
the absolute best sponsor of any bowl game, without a doubt. Wait, what? Wait, PK, what is Cherry Bundy Tart Cherry? What is that?
It's not a sponsor of our show, Blake.
It's juice. It's juice.
Oh my goodness.
It's Cherry Bundy Tart Cherry Juice.
Once again, this is the cherry...
The prune juice
This
bowl.
is the cherry... this is the Cherry Bundy Tart Cherry Boca Raton Bowl featuring Florida Atlantic and Akron.
Here's the thing: Kiffin is in the top 5 for the most wins all time.
and
for
the
head
#1 for
coaches.
best Twitter.
Yes, sure, yeah. Kind of weird, kind of inappropriate, but I love it. He's about to he's like top 5 in wins for all FAU head coaches of all time. But Akron might think they're a good team.
Already?
Already. The Akron Zips might think they're a good team, but you know what? Kiffin and FAU are gonna tarmac these fools. High five! Kiffin getting fired joke.
Well, Brady, you took my reasoning. I absolutely love Lane Kiffin's Twitter. If I need a good laugh, that's exactly what I'll go to do. Just look at the most recent tweet by Lane Kiffin. So for that reason and the fact that they're 10-3, I'm going to go with FAU.
I'm going FAU and the Owls.
Blake's about to pick Akron.
I'm going to go with FAU just because they're the better team in
clean
this
sweep.
one in the Cherry Bundy Tart Cherry Boca Raton Bowl. Once again, that is the Cherry Bundy Tart Cherry Boca Raton Bowl.
Raton. It's Raton.
Oh, Boca...
Raton.
I've never heard Boca Raton.
It's
Boca Raton.
It's Raton.
Boca Raton? Well, I like Boca
Or some
Raton.
people just say Boca.
I like Boca Raton better, guys. But hey, we got the DXL Frisco Bowl.
Rat people.
DXL, I don't know what that
It's
is.
a big and large store, Blake.
Oh,
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
very
It's a
nice.
big and
All right, well,
large
that
store.
features...
Because that one actor who's like has a really long hair with the beards in the commercial.
And this is between SMU and Louisiana Tech.
SMU. That's my answer.
I like your emphasis on that, Josh.
In all seriousness, we haven't gotten a chance to talk about it much because SMU's had an underwhelming year, but Cortland Sutton's a future first-round draft pick, one of the better receivers in the country. I think he pops off, and for that reason, I'm going SMU.
I'm going SMU.
It's Cortland Sutton's last game, most likely, because he's going to be, I've seen top 10 potentially, because he's going to be the #1 receiver taken off the board. So I'm going to go with the Mustangs in this game. Oh my goodness. It's the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl, featuring Temple and Florida International.
Oh,
Once
God.
again, Blake, you messed up a name. There's only one R, so it's Gasparilla.
Oh, God, this game's being played at Tropicana Field. Nobody wants to go there for baseball, let alone football.
Oh man, like I don't know who to pick in this one. I really want to pick Temple, so I'm gonna pick Temple.
I'm going with Temple, too.
I'm going with FIU.
Mimi dated Butch Davis, right? Or was that Butch? Yeah, it was Butch Davis.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I'm going to go with Florida International in this one since he's the head coach.
She also dated Nolan Ryan.
Yeah. So
She went on a date with Nolan Ryan.
So backstory before we just move on and nobody knows who Mimi is. Mimi is our friend's grandmother who invited us over for football games one time. Twice actually.
Twice.
And it turns out she dated the FIU coach and went on a date with Nolan Ryan. But hey, there you go.
Back when, and I quote, she called Nolan Ryan a cutie.
Now here we go, guys. Here's a nice one. The Bahamas Bowl, featuring UAB and Ohio.
I
do
don't
not want to be invited to this bowl game.
Oh, I would. I
God.
said this is where our Harris Highlights Bowl should be.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what it is, but every single year, for whatever reason, I just end up watching the Ohio Bowl game. So I'm taking the Bobcats. This is a great game. Go UAB Blazers, but go Ohio Bobcats a little bit more.
I'm going with UAB because they have a way sicker logo than Ohio, and it's way more fierce.
It's a fire-breathing dragon. UAB didn't have a football program 2 years ago, and now they're back in a bowl game. But my best friend goes to Ohio, so I'm picking Ohio.
I mean, a few weeks ago I was watching the UAB video when they found out that they were getting their football team pretty much just taken away from them. But now that the fact that they're back, and I think they won 8 games this past season, shout out to them. What an incredible turnaround. I'm going to go with UAB, and Lyle, you're right. Their logo is a lot better. Here we go, guys. Here's a fun one. The famous Idaho Potato Bowl, featuring Wyoming and Central Michigan.
Wyoming's going to have a lot of fans there, but right now, Shane Morris, the Central Michigan quarterback, I don't think any of us at the beginning of the year would have predicted that Shane Morris has better passing, or just better stats as a quarterback than Josh Allen. We had all thought that he was going to be a top, maybe even a top 10 draft pick, first round draft pick, and he's just fallen off. So in this point, I'm going with the team that once again does not have the sicker logo, and that's the C that's running really fast, Central Michigan.
I'm still going to give the favor to Josh Allen in this one. I think he shows up for the bowl game, and actually, you know what? I don't think he plays, so for that reason, I'm going to go with Central Michigan.
All right, then.
I like that, Lyle. I like that a lot. But this game up north is going to be cold, and Wyoming from up north, and they used to cold. So Wyoming.
I like what you mentioned about Josh Allen potentially not playing, which I could totally see him doing, but every time I always take Wyoming, they always end up losing. But also I like what Josh brought up about Shane Morris, who if you look up his stats quietly, you probably have not heard his name once mentioned the entire season, but he has had quietly a fantastic season there for Central Michigan. I'm going to go with Central Michigan, who are the Chippewas? The Chippeways? Chippewas.
Yeah.
The Chippewas. Go Chippewas. The Birmingham Bowl featuring Texas Tech and USF. If you like scoring, this is the game for you.
This is going to be a really good game. On number-wise, it's a 6-6 T-Tech team and a 9-2 South Florida team. This is going to be a fantastic game, but you know what's great? Nick Shimonek is the best player with passing stats. That's the Texas Tech quarterback, according to ESPN. And according to ESPN, the best player with rushing stats is South Florida's quarterback, Quentin Flowers. And when you have a dual-threat quarterback that is as deadly as him, I think it's hard to pick against him. I'm picking the South Florida Bulls over Texas Tech in a heck of a ball game.
Well, I think it's going to be an absolute offensive shootout, like you mentioned, Josh. But I think the fact that Texas Tech's played a lot of good teams close this year, including Oklahoma State, to be one of them, I'm going to go with the Red Raiders.
I like Charlie Strong's coaching when it comes to tight pressure scenarios in a bowl game, so I'm going to go USF.
I really like USF. I mean, they almost beat UCF, what was that, last week? And they've been good all season, only 2 losses on the year. I'm going to go with the Bulls in this one, but I think this is going to be the highest scoring game of the year. I think it might be both teams over 40. Oh, here's another good one. The Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl featuring San Diego State and Army. Isn't like Army just kind of guaranteed to be in the Armed Forces Bowl every year?
I feel like one of the military schools is in it. I really like rooting for Army, and to be totally honest, I think they have one of the most baller logos in college sports. It is just the coolest thing, but you know what? I think Rashad Penny is just going to run right through these guys. 2,000 yards on the season with 19 touchdowns. He's incredible. He won't even get considered for New York, which is what's so sad. But you know what? He's not the best SDSU player in this game. And it's not even quarterback Christian Chapman. It is punter number 59, Brandon Heiklund. This guy is going to punt the crap out of the ball. Hopefully not a whole lot of times.
Wouldn't that mean they'd lose, though?
No. He's just going to punt it far. Not a lot. I'm picking the Aztecs. But also go UC Davis. Go Ags.
Well, I know he's your buddy, Josh, and all credit to Brandon Heiklund, but I'm not going to go as far as to say he's the best player over the guy that's rushed for 2,027 yards on the year. So I'm going to go with San Diego State. I think it's a really good game. I'm totally with you that Rashad Penny should have received a lot more national attention, but given that they don't play a lot of tough games, he didn't receive it. I'm going with San Diego State. Penny, I'm going to say he goes for 200 plus.
I'm going to go San Diego State, but it's going to be really interesting to see how Army can come off of a later regular season game than most normal teams do.
I'm going to go with San Diego State in this one. The Dollar General Bowl featuring Toledo and Appalachian State.
I'm going to take Toledo in this game. Last week I said they were going to zip past the Zips of Akron, and I'm going to say this week they're going to mountaineer past the Mountaineers of Appalachian State.
I'm going to go with Toledo, too. Their quarterback, Logan Woodside, he's thrown for nearly 4,000 yards on the year. I know they haven't probably played a lot of tough teams, but that's still insane. For that reason, I like Toledo.
You know, I'm going to go with the Rockets. I'm going with Toledo in this game. I had them at the beginning of the year as one of my sleeper teams, along with TCU. Hey, go Frogs. But I'm going with Toledo in this game.
I mean, Toledo has one of the best offenses in the country, and this past weekend in the MAC championship, they were just dominant over Pearl Akron. I'm going to go with the Toledos as well. We have the Hawaii Bowl featuring Fresno State and Houston.
Bulldogs are going to make the Central Valley very proud on Sunday, December 24th, which is Christmas Eve. A little bit of an early Christmas gift to the Fresno faithful. Bulldogs take it over Houston.
I like Fresno State as well. They cracked the top 25 this year. They, of course, played Boise State close, and I think they get a win in this game.
I like Fresno State in this one because they were ranked towards the end of the year. The last, 2 or 3 weeks, they were up there in the rankings. Houston's that team that last year played really well. This year's been so I'm going to go Fresno State in this game.
Houston surprisingly has a pretty good defense. I mean, earlier when they played USF, they held them to only 24 points, so this team can defend the ball. And also on that defensive front, probably a top 5 pick next year, Ed Oliver. This guy is an absolute stud. I think Houston is going to get this win. The good old Zaxby's Heart of Dallas Bowl with West Virginia and Utah.
I'm back in the pack in this one. I'm taking the Utes.
You know, this is a battle of 2 great receivers in this game between Darren Carrington from Utah and then Gary Jennings from West Virginia. Should be fun to watch. I think it's a big offensive shootout, but I'm going to go with Utah.
You know, if Will Greer were playing in this game, I think I'd choose West Virginia, but since he's such a big factor on that Mountaineer team, I'm going to have to go with the Utes in this game.
I mean, if Will Greer is playing in this game, it would easily be West Virginia, but I still think even without him, this West Virginia team is better than Utah. Utah did not look good this year. There were some games they did, just think of the ASU game, for example, they did not look good. West Virginia, still a team that's probably a top 35, 40-ish team, so I'm going to go with the Mountaineers. The Quick Lane Bowl, Duke and Northern Illinois.
I'm taking Northern Illinois. I think they're going to get a lot of fans there. Duke, I haven't been impressed with them this year, so I'm taking the Huskies.
I like the group of 5 upset in this one, too. I'm taking Northern Illinois.
Third time's a charm. I'm going with you guys, Northern Illinois.
I'm going to go with Duke, mainly because I was on their football field, which is an all-time classic story that maybe one day will be told.
That's where you announced the #1 play of your Harris Highlights Top 100. Is that correct?
Yep, just moments before the cops found me and chased me out. The Cactus Bowl, literally right down the street from us, Kansas State and UCLA.
Ooh, surprise, surprise. I'm taking Kansas State. I don't think UCLA is a good team. I think Josh Rosen's good. I think Jordan Lasley's absolutely incredible. I just don't think UCLA has enough weapons to take down Kansas State.
Oh, surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise.
There is absolutely no chance Josh Rosen plays in this game. He's a slam dunk, top 3 pick, probably the first quarterback off the board, and there's no way he risks it. So I'm going with Kansas State.
I'm going with Kansas State because they got purple in their logo.
I'm going to go with Kansas State. The only reason is because Josh Rosen, like I said, like Lyle said, most likely not going to be playing in this game. The Walk-Ons Independence Bowl, featuring Southern Miss and Florida State. Now, if I would have told you guys at the beginning of the year that Florida State would be playing in the Walk-Ons Independence Bowl, you probably would have said, yo, Blake, pass some of that stuff over here. But unfortunately, no. Guys, who wins this game?
I think it would be fantastic for college football to see Southern Mississippi win this game. But guys, I don't think it happens. I think Florida State's the better team, despite the fact that they've been suffering from injuries all season long, and it's just been a bad year. I think the Seminoles get over 500 with a bowl win.
I think you still look top to bottom at each roster, and Florida State's still loaded with talent. You look at James Blackman, their quarterback, of course, Derwin James on defense. They've just had a down year with a lot of injuries, but I'm still taking Florida State.
The pedigree that Florida State has coming into this game will be unrivaled, so I'm going to go Florida State against Southern Miss.
Yeah, they're going to say, Jimbo Fisher, here's a nice win for you. Enjoy Texas A&M. They're going to get the win.
Is he coaching in the bowl game?
Nope. No, he's not. One of my favorite bowl games, and that is the New Era Pinstripe Bowl, featuring Iowa and Boston College.
This is one of the coolest bowl games, and because Boston College has played there before, I want to pick them. But Iowa has just had some marquee wins this year, I think, and they've played a couple of really good teams tough. So, of course, with that win against Ohio State, I know. I'm taking Iowa in this game. They're the better team.
This is the baseball coming out in me, but I don't think New York's going to want anything to do with Boston. I'm going Iowa.
I like that, Lyle. I like that. I'm going to go Iowa in this game because I'm going to back the Big Ten. They don't have a goal back the pack. Back the Big Ten.
Remember this game last year? This is the one that Mike from Mike and Mike commentated with his son. That was a fantastic
Was
game.
it Golick and Golick?
It
was. You're right.
Golick and Golick Jr. That was a fantastic game. Iowa's just the better team. I'm going to go with the Hawkeyes.
Who was in that last year? Was that Northwestern?
No, I think it was Duke and someone else.
No, Duke played 2 years ago against IU.
Ah, well, last year I don't remember who it was then. The Foster Farms Bowl with Arizona and Purdue. Now, I can't wait to hear BK's analysis on this one.
There are rivals, but you know what? I am back in the pack, and I am back in the dirty T. I think the Wildcats from Tucson get it done.
Assuming Khalil Tate's healthy for this game, I got to go with Arizona. I think that rushing attack that he leads is going to be too strong for Purdue.
I have no clue.
Well, these are the
don't
two teams
know.
you hate most.
This was like my ideal bowl game would be like, oh, ASU versus IU. Perfect. Perfect. It almost played out that way. What do I get instead? U of A versus Purdue. The dirty T versus West Lafayette. I'm going to have to say Purdue. And this is going to, the reason I do this is because the last 3 years, Purdue had 3 wins. They had 6 wins this year, but I'm going to have to go Purdue in this game because what Jeff Brom did to this program is uncanny. I haven't seen a turnaround from a team that was this bad. Maybe Scott Frost with UCF, but granted, they were good 4 years ago. Then they were garbage, and then they were good again. But this Purdue team, the turnaround they had is great. I'm going Purdue.
We've seen that Arizona goes with however Khalil Tate goes. If Khalil Tate's on, Arizona wins. If he's not, they're not. Purdue, their defense. We've seen that Big Ten defense. Purdue's got one of the better defenses in the Big Ten. I think they might be able to contain Khalil Tate, and that's, like I said, depending on if he plays or not. I don't know if that was an injury, if we even found out what happened in that ASU game. If it was injury, they just took him out.
He had a leg injury.
A leg injury, so like I said, I don't know what the hell it's going to be on him, but I'm going to go with Purdue in that one. The Academy Sports plus the Outdoors Texas Bowl that features Texas and Missouri.
It's Academy Sports plus Outdoors Texas Bowl.
Oh, Academy Sports and Outdoor. Okay, that makes more sense.
Taking the Longhorns over Missouri.
Well, Josh, I'm glad you feel that way because their left tackle, Connor Williams, is supposed to be a top 10 pick. He's sitting. Malik Jefferson, linebacker, who's going to be a first-round pick, he's sitting. One of their top corners is sitting. So I'm going with Missouri.
I'm going Texas in Texas.
Guys, another name to watch in this game is Drew Lock, the quarterback for Missouri. We talked about him earlier in the year for like a week or two, but he set the record for most touchdowns by an SEC quarterback this season. Went very under the radar. I think he had like something in the low 40s, a truly remarkable season. I think he's going to throw for at least 3 or 4 against Texas. I'm going to go with Missouri in this game. The Military Bowl, presented by Northrop Grumman, featuring Virginia and Navy. So I guess this is the other bowl game that the military school plays in. But guys, Virginia Navy, who wins?
It's just dumb that Navy gets to play in a postseason game in their home stadium, but I think they're the better team anyway. Midshipmen.
I got to go with Navy. We mentioned it earlier. That option attack is just too tough.
It's so hard to stop and go Navy in the triple option.
Earlier in the show, I took Navy in the game against Army, so I'm going to switch things up a bit, and I'm going to go with Virginia in this game. The Camping World Bowl between Virginia Tech and Oklahoma State.
This is an extremely underwhelming bowl game, but I'm taking Mason Rudolph and the Cowboys.
I like Oklahoma State, too. I think their offense is just too strong between Rudolph and James Washington.
The dynamic duo that Oklahoma State has is very hard to contain going Oklahoma State.
This is one of the few clean sweeps I think we're going to have. I'm going to go with Oklahoma State in this one. The Valero Alamo Bowl featuring Stanford and TCU.
I'm going to back the pack in this one and take Stanford.
I like Stanford, too. They've been playing so well lately. TCU started to fall off a little bit, so I like the Cardinal.
For one last time this year, go Frogs!
The Trees get it done. I think they're just the much better team. The San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl.
It's Josh's favorite name.
Washington State and Michigan State.
San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl, played at San Diego County Credit Union Stadium. I'm taking the Big Ten in this one. Michigan State.
I think Michigan State's offense has just been kind of underwhelming this season, and I think Wazoo finds a way. They lost their bowl game last year, and I think they find a way to beat the Big Ten this year in Michigan State, so I like the Cougars.
I'm going with the Big Ten. I'm going Michigan State.
In what is Luke Falk's last game and Mike Leach's last game at Washington State, I am going to go with the Cougars. The Belk Bowl. That's
Now-
a
now-
very subtle one.
One rule of advice. Don't steal anything
Don't-
before this game.
Don't steal anything.
Only the toilet cheese from the hotel.
Wait, who
That's all you can
was it
steal.
Sprinkle last year?
I think so. The only thing you can steal is like the little shampoos and the towels from the hotel. Maybe not even the towels.
Wake Forest and Texas A&M.
Demon Deacons.
I like A&M in this game.
A&M's getting a new coach, so I'm gonna go Texas A&M.
I'm going to go with Texas A&M in this one as well. And the absolute best bowl game of the entire bowl season, the absolute #1 game that must be on your television set when it is on, and it's going to be on CBS too, so everyone gets to watch the game, and Brad Nessler gets to commentate it too, so it's going to be the best called game of all bowl season, and that is the Arizona State Sun Devils versus the number 24 ranked NC State Wolfpack.
Should be a good game. N'Keal Harry is a true friend of the crown. Dilly dilly, Devils next.
I hate to do it, guys, but I watched NC State a few times this year. They have this kid, Naheem Hines, at running back, and he's darn impressive. I like NC State.
You might like NC State, but we don't like you, Lyle. I'm going ASU.
ASU is going to win because of 2 reasons. Reason number 1, most likely Bradley Chubb, who is going to be a top 10 pick. He just won ACC Defensive Player of the Year. And he's a very nice guy as well, guys. Just want to let you guys know.
Thanks.
I doubt that he's going to be playing in
he'll
this
almost
game.
definitely sit.
I doubt that he's going to be playing in this game. So without Nancy State's best defensive presence, that's going to be a benefit to the Sun Devils. Number 2, this is going to be Todd Graham's last game. I know we talked about whether or not what kind of a Sun Devil team we're going to see. Are we going to see an inspired team or a team that's kind of let down? I think ASU is going to come out and play, especially those seniors, they're all going to play the game of their life for Todd Graham. I think they're going to celebrate, they're going to get the win, and I kid you not, as they're going across the field, Todd Graham is going to be on their shoulders. I am going to go with the Sun Devils in this one without a doubt. The Franklin American Mortgage Music City Bowl featuring Kentucky and Northwestern.
Great name for a bowl game.
Northwestern. Lyle.
I like Northwestern. They've had an impressive upset this year, specifically over Michigan State.
Grady.
I like Northwestern. Blake.
I like Kentucky. The Nova Home Loans Arizona Bowl featuring New Mexico State and Utah State. Now, I just don't understand how there's a bowl game in Tucson.
Well, I'll tell you guys right now, the Aggies are definitely winning this game. And when I say the Aggies, I don't mean the Utah State Aggies. I mean the New Mexico State Aggies, because they have 3 really nice playmakers in Tyler Rogers, Larry Rose III, and Jaleel Scott. And I'm looking right now at Tyler Rogers, who threw for almost 4,000 yards and 26 touchdowns, and a very athletic receiver in Jaleel Scott, who made a couple of really nice grabs against ASU this year. Brady and I called that game. I'm taking New Mexico State.
I think talent-wise, it's pretty clear New Mexico State is much more talented top to bottom. I like the Aggies in this game. I think they beat Utah State to death in Tucson.
You know, New Mexico State's got a football team, and so does Utah State, but I think one of these teams is going to come out with less points than the other one. So I'm going to go with New Mexico State scoring more points than the other team.
Guys, New Mexico State has not been in a bowl game since 1960, which
Wow.
I heard that today and I was shocked. How are you not in a bowl game for 57 years?
That has to be the longest streak.
It had to have been one of the longest of all time. So just for that reason, I'm going to go with New Mexico State now. And now we head to one of the New Year's 6 bowls, and that is the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, featuring the USC Trojans and the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Ohio State, let me start off by saying, just wear your normal uniforms for this game. These are 2 classic teams, 2 classic sets of uniforms. Wear your normal uniforms. Don't wear the stunning silver ones or whatever you wore against Michigan. Those were still great, but please don't wear them. I'm taking the Trojans in this game. I think the SC fans are going to flock out to Texas, and I think USC is going to win this game and try to make a statement for saying, hey, we're a 2-loss team. Our resume is similar to Ohio State's. Why weren't we considered for the playoff? I'm not saying they should have been in it. I'm saying they get a win.
There was a lot of talk about USC on the selection show.
There was.
On Sunday morning.
Yeah, and for that, I'm taking 8th-ranked SC over 5th-ranked Ohio State.
I like the Trojans as well. They've been playing really hot lately. Ohio State, I watched them in that Big Ten championship. JT Barrett just doesn't have it. There was so many throws in that game that he should have made and he didn't. He was very underwhelming. And like I just said, Sam Darnold's been playing his best football over the last few games, and for that reason, I like the Trojans.
I like Ohio State in this game. I don't think they're the better team, but I think Ohio State has much more to prove to the committee. They were sitting at 5th, and they're like, all right, why didn't we get in? But Alabama, who didn't win a conference, wasn't even in a conference championship, all this and that. So I'm going to go with Ohio State. I don't think they're the better team. I just think they have more to prove.
Yeah, and this one as well. I mean, I think this is arguably going to be the best non-playoff game that there is, and it's scary. You're going to get an Ohio State team that truly believes they belong in the top 4, and I think they're going to bring their A game. I like Ohio State in this one. They're closer to home than USC is. I think that stadium is going to be about maybe 70%, 75, 80% Ohio State fans. I truly do. I think that they're going to flock.
These are probably the 2 most well-traveled teams in the country. Like,
No.
fan bases.
I don't think so.
Not
I
USC.
say Notre Dame.
USC travels extremely
not
well.
top
Well,
2,
you gotta
though.
know, Notre Dame's been everywhere.
Not
True.
top 2.
True.
I
Not
think
top 2, but SC travels
I think
extremely well.
Dude, I'm telling you this. Ohio State loyalty.
Oh no, I think there'll be a lot of.
I think Ohio State. I mean, I think it's going to be a great game, but I think Ohio State, they're going to play for revenge and try to prove that they are deserving of a top 4 spot. The Tax Slayer Bowl, Louisville and Mississippi State.
Bulldogs.
I like Mississippi State too. This, again, I don't think Lamar Jackson plays in this game, and Mississippi State comes out with the win.
Throw the L's because they're going to take an L. I'm going Mississippi State in this game.
I think Lamar Jackson, without a doubt, plays in this game. I mean, he's a lot of mock drafts. He's going to be probably end of first round-ish. Maybe some people even have second round. So, I mean, he has... I mean, there's no reason for him not to play. I think he's going to play
Injury.
this game. Okay, injury. Players, aside from like Leonard Fournette, no one does that because of injury. They do it to help their draft status. I don't think Mississippi State's a good team whatsoever. Lamar Jackson, stat-wise, he had a few extra yards this year than last year. Very underrated season. I'm going to go with Louisville in this one. The AutoZone Liberty Bowl, Iowa State and Memphis.
This game is actually at Memphis's home stadium, and I like their head coach Mike Norvell, Memphis.
Riley Ferguson's been really impressive this year, and Memphis played UCF very, very tough in that conference title game. I got to go with Memphis.
Memphis was the 2nd highest scoring offensive team in all of college football this year, behind UCF, who they played in their conference championship, which was one of the greatest offensive games I've ever seen of college football in my life. Subsequently, one of the worst defensive games. But I'm going Mike Norvell in Memphis. How long ago was he at ASU? Last year or 2 years ago?
2-3 years ago.
I can't believe that Memphis is playing at their own stadium in this game, but they're truly a good team. I think they should be ranked higher than 20th, but they were ranked 20th, and they lost, and they didn't even move. So how about that? But I'm going to go with the Tigers in this one. It says the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl, but to me this will always be the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. That is between Washington and Penn State.
Can't back the pack on this one. I'm taking Trace and Penn State.
I like Penn State too. I know this is a New Year's Six game, so Saquon's status for the game of whether he plays or not, I think it's up in the air. Regardless, I think Penn State's just a better team, and I think they come out with the win.
I'm going Penn State in this game, easily.
I'm going to go with Penn State as well. I think it should have been Penn State and USC just because of that rematch factor, but hey, that's just me. Now this game is arguably probably the most underwhelming. It's a great bowl game, but it's probably the one bowl game that I'll absolutely just not really have any desire to watch, and that is the Capital One Orange Bowl featuring Wisconsin and Miami.
I've been waiting to pick these guys all season long, despite what a lot of viewers probably think of us. I think Wisconsin wins this game by 2 touchdowns over Miami. It's a low-scoring game. I think it's like 28-17 Wisconsin.
I like Wisconsin too. I don't know what was in the water that night in Miami when they played Notre Dame, because the rest of their games, they've been very, very underwhelming. And Wisconsin, outside of that loss to Ohio State, they were undefeated up till that point. So I like the Badgers.
I'll tell you guys this. The most entertaining part of that Wisconsin-Ohio State game was the guy fixing the turf in the end zone for 30 minutes or so. But the fact that he went to school for that was even more impressive. But this game is interesting because 2 highly ranked teams, 6 and 10. Miami's playing at home. This game's at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. So that's where you got to think. There's going to be 80%, 90% Miami fans in this game. I'm going to go with the U in this game. I think Wisconsin will stick in there with them, like what Josh said. It'll be a defensive battle, low-scoring game, but I'm going Miami just because it's at home.
So although it is at Miami, I'm going to disagree on that one because Wisconsin, I've seen the way they travel to the Rose Bowl. Badger fans, they travel like crazy. I think the stadium actually, surprisingly enough, I think it might be more Badgers fans than Miami Hurricanes fans just for that one. I'm going to go with the Badgers on that one because I have been backing them all season. And I think they're the better team. I don't like Miami whatsoever. The Outback Bowl featuring Michigan and South Carolina, a rematch of a few years ago when one Jadeveon Clowney had arguably one of the most impressive defensive plays in college football history.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, and that kind of takes away from the interesting or the little pun that I was gonna use. I was gonna say that the Gamecocks Clowney these guys, so I'm gonna Gamecocks.
Let's go, Cox.
Let's go, Cox.
I like South Carolina too. I think Michigan State's pretty depleted, especially at the quarterback position. Offensively, they're just not that sound. For that reason, let's go Cox.
You know, my boy Wilton Spate is transferring. So
Has a Heisman Trophy winner ever transferred after?
Shut up, Lyle. Brandon Peters for Heisman. But the real USC is going to win this game. I'm kidding. But no, South Carolina's winning this game.
I've always said that the Outback Bowl is one of my favorite bowls, mainly because it's that first bowl game that always comes on New Year's Day. It's always early on the West Coast at 9 a.m. It's always a beautiful, sunny day. It's in, in Tampa, Florida. It's just always a beautiful venue. I love watching it. Guys, I have not been high on Michigan at all this entire year, but looking at this game, it is a bowl game. I think Michigan is going to get this job done. South Carolina, they underwhelmed me in that game against Clemson a few weeks ago. They did not show up, and for that reason, I'm going to go with the Wolverines. Now, this is the game that I am absolutely most excited for, guys, and that is the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl featuring UCF and Auburn.
Central Florida's going to play Auburn tough, but I think the Tigers pull it out.
I just think it's going to be too tough for UCF to compete with a team like Auburn, who was just a game away from making the playoffs, maybe, just maybe being that #1 seed. I think the talent there, Kerryon Johnson, of course, Jarrett Stidham, it's going to be too much for UCF.
You know, Atlanta's going to freeze over in this game. And when I say that, Scott Frost and his UCF Knights are going to come out and put a beat down on Auburn. And I say this because you two said Auburn, and I wanted to say UCF. I had a good Scott Frost pun. So I'm going UCF.
I really hope UCF shows up in this game, because if they come out and they win this game, it's going to show, hey, down the line now, these non-Power 5 schools, if they're doing well in the season, they deserve to be ranked higher. Because if UCF wins this game, next year if there's a team like, I don't know, South Florida or, you know, Houston or whoever is out there, if they're 10-0, 11-0, everyone's going to be going, well, I mean, UCF last year, they came in, they beat Auburn, so maybe we can put them in like 8 or 7 or something like that. So UCF, it's the last game under Scott Frost, and I don't think there's a team in the country. I mean, we know the Sun Devils like Todd Graham a lot, but I think UCF might love, you know, Frost a little more. So I think they're going to be a very, very, very determined team, and I think they're going to get the job done.
So here's a good fact about this game, by the way. 51 players on this UCF roster. 51. 2 years ago experienced the 0-12 season that are still currently on the roster, ranked 12th, playing in the Peach Bowl on a New Year's 6 day. Imagine the turnaround in 2 years that those 51 guys have gone through.
Good for them, though, for sticking through. That's awesome. The Citrus Bowl, presented by Overton's number 14. What is that, an alcoholic beverage?
Probably.
Adams has a big game. I'm taking the Irish.
You know, I want to take Notre Dame, but I'm going to be completely honest. I know I've expressed my displeasure for the play of LSU quarterback Danny Etling a couple times on this show, but LSU beat Auburn earlier in the year, and to be totally honest, I have not been impressed with Notre Dame over these last few games, so I'm going to go LSU.
I like Notre Dame in this game. I think they're gonna show up. Yes, they're two offensive linemen, Lyle, the two guards, right?
Quentin Nelson, Mike McGlinchey.
Yeah, they're questionable for this game.
I just have to assume they might consider sitting out.
I mean, I don't know. I think either way, it's Notre Dame. I think they're gonna find a way to win this game.
Notre Dame, the last few games, they have not looked good at all. LSU, they've been kind of turning things around a bit. I'm going to go with the Tigers in this one. And apparently, Overton's number 14, we could not even find it. We think it might be boating supplies. That's what our guess is. And that does bring us, guys, to the first playoff game, and that is the Rose Bowl game presented by Northwestern Mutual, and that features the number 3 Georgia Bulldogs and the number 2 Oklahoma Sooners.
Hard to pick against Baker Mayfield and that offense. I'm going to go ahead and take the Sooners in this game.
I think this is the better of the two games. And I'm going to be honest, I got to go with Georgia. I don't trust that Oklahoma defense and that running back trio. It's not just Michelle and Chubb anymore. DeAndre Swift has started to get into the mix too. You saw the big run he popped off for in the SEC title game. Between the defense Georgia has and the way Fromm and that offense is starting to come together, I like Georgia.
I think Oklahoma is going to plant their flag in the middle of this Georgia team, and I think Oklahoma's going to win this game.
Baker Mayfield is playing hotter than I thought he'd be. No one can stop him at this very moment. Even Georgia, a very good defense. This is going to be an exciting game. It's going to be happening at the Rose Bowl in beautiful Pasadena, California. I've already had a bunch of people on Twitter DM me saying that are Georgia or Oklahoma fans that are saying I'm coming out to Pasadena for the game. I am going to go with Oklahoma in this one. I will also be trying to attend as well, try to get some buddies down there so we can hit up some tailgates. And I'm also trying to go to the game as well. My Venmo is at Blake H. Harris, so if you'd like to donate to help me go to the game, that is more than appreciated as well. Which does bring us to the All-State Sugar Bowl, guys. A rematch of the last 2 national championships, Alabama and Clemson.
Best 2 out of 3. Clemson wins 2.
I like Clemson too. That attack of Kelly Bryant. The one game Clemson lost this year, Bryant wasn't playing, and Alabama, plain and simple, I think they're the better competition for Clemson, like I mentioned earlier, but they're not the same team, and especially not without Sean Dion Hamilton. I think Clemson wins. I think they win by 2 touchdowns.
I'm going Clemson in this game. I'm going number 1. I have to pick Clemson.
This is a tough one, man. I was hoping that this was going to be the national championship game, so we got this for the 3rd year in a row. We are still getting it for the 3rd year in a row. I still think Clemson's the best team in the country. It's Alabama, though, and they are the 58% favorite in this one. Surprisingly.
Alabama's the favorite.
Oh, Alabama. Yeah, Alabama is the favorite. I am going to go with the Clemson Tigers in this game, guys. Which then does bring us to the national championship. So, guys, who is winning the national title?
I picked Clemson, so I'm going to take Clemson. However, I think it's Clemson-Oklahoma. I'm taking Clemson.
Mine's Clemson, Georgia, and I think this is going to be one heck of a national championship. Georgia, man, they proved that they deserve to be here. The committee dropped them 6 spots after losing that game versus Auburn a couple weeks back. I think it's going to be 24-20 Clemson, and I think it's going to be the best game of the college football season. Yes, that's cliche because it's the national championship, but this is the game I want to see most, Clemson, Georgia, and I can't wait if it happens.
You know, I think Clemson gets it done for the 2nd year in a row because Dabo's been here before. Dabo knows what to expect. Dabo knows how to teach his players what else to expect and how to prepare for a game of this magnitude. I honestly think Oklahoma has a better overall team, but I think Clemson is a better coach team, which in college football is one of the most important things you can have. So I'm going Clemson in the national championship.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting national championship, regardless of who's in it. I mean, regardless of what the matchup is. But based off of my picks are, I am going to go with Oklahoma in this one. Baker Mayfield is just on another level right now. He is on a mission. He's on a mission to get that Heisman and get that national championship. So, Boomer Sooner, I am going to go with the Sooners in that one. But, guys, that does wrap up this complete bowl season Pick Ems. I don't know. I love doing it. I thought that was a lot of fun.
I did too.
I mean, it was so much fun. Josh even left. How about that? That's how much fun it was. But, guys, as always...
Hey, so did Kirk Herbstreit when Ohio State didn't make it.
That is true. But, guys, thank you so much for watching. Christmas is coming up. Make sure you head on over and you get some merch. You got to do it. If you're going to go to any of these bowl games and you want to make a sign of any kind, make sure you make a Harris Highlight sign. Send us the photo. But if you're just going to any bowl game as well, send us a photo from the bowl game as well because we'd love to see it. We want to see how many viewers are going to how many bowl games. I feel like that'd be actually a fun over-under. Okay, I'm going to say this. Viewers going to bowl games, I'm going to put it at 7. My guess is 7 different bowl games from viewers that we hear from.
7 different bowl games. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. 41 games, Blake.
That's true.
You know what? I'm going to give our viewers some love.
Are you going to take the over, Lyle?
I'm going to go with... Oh, the over under 7. I don't get to make my own over.
You can do whatever you
I
want.
think it's going to be 12. I like 12. I'm giving our viewers some love.
I'm going to go 9.5 right between you guys.
Oh, God.
Jeez.
No, I think 9 to 10 is a good range for this.
Josh from a mile away goes, I'll go with like 6.
But yeah, guys, make sure you send us photos. And if you are coming out to the Rose Bowl, let me know. Yeah, if you guys are coming out to the Rose Bowl game, whether you're a Georgia fan, an Oklahoma fan, or just a fan of college football in general, let me know because most likely I will be going. I'd love to meet up with you guys, take some photos, take any extra tickets off your hands, eat any barbecue, or drink any alcohol that you guys have, one or the other. I would love to do that, so just let me know. We'll see you guys next year. How about that? It's our last episode of 2017. So we are going to take a little month hiatus. We do have a nice long 4 to 5 week winter break. When we come back, we are going to have a nice episode where we recap the entire bowl season and the national title game, as well as prepare for the second annual Harris Highlights Award Show. We did the first one this past year and everyone had a lot of fun with it. So this year, guys, we have second year of the award show. We have lots of great awards, some brand new awards this upcoming year. So the next episode will have more information on that, how you can vote, and how you can possibly present an award as well. So if you'd like to present a Harris Highlights Award, we'll have to let you know. You're going to have to tune in for the next episode.
Agent Killer Deluxe, dude, if you're out there, you can present an award. Because you won, like, not just our group.
The entire
You won the whole thing. You can present an award if you want.
So Agent Killer Deluxe, if you're out there, make sure you do it. Also, make sure, once again, that you join the Harris Highlights Capital One Bowl Season Mania, whatever the name is, Pick 'em League. The link for it is in the description below. You're going to be competing against fellow viewers, fellow members of the Harris Highlights Show, and other people as well. Well, for Lyle Goldstein and Brady Klain and Josh Schaefer, who has left the building, this has been Blake Harris. Have a happy new year, everyone. We will see you next year. Let's hope for a great bowl season. And dilly dilly.
Dilly dilly.